Hello, everyone. GariTalks. It's been quite some time. I was gonna say in the lab. I have been in the lab. I've been just like with myself, right? It's been, I've been with community. It's been really nice. But like in terms of producing things and doing things with other people, I feel like I've been a lot more within myself and not sharing as much as of my thoughts publicly with like social media or with my YouTube and stuff like that. Um, it's been it's just a fascinating time we are in right now. But for context, just to let y'all know where I've been too, I went to Haiti for like 4 days with my dad. Um, Realizing I feel like I've made mention of like I need to talk about my relationship with my dad and share with y'all that journey of how it's been, because when I tell you, if you had told me at anywhere between 6 and 24, 25 that I would be going on a trip with my father anywhere, I would have slapped you. I would have laughed in your face. Like, why are you playing these games? Who are you trying to finesse? So it's really, really, really lovely to be able to be here in community with him. So that's like been a whole journey. And I guess I'm going to share like my Haiti trip. I'm like, will I do that now? This might be a long video. I'm always trying to keep my videos short and sweet, but like, I'm a long and sweet kind of person, you know? um, So anyway, I went to Haiti with my dad. We'll talk about the dad stuff later. Maybe that'll be a separate video. I feel like I also be like putting things off into these infinite other videos that never happen. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Actually, let me write this one down. You're right. Okay, so video about dad. Um, but coming back from Haiti has just been a fascinating experience. I think us living in the West, especially in America, have our head up our own asses. Like, the world at large is going through mad shit, mad upheaval right now. And I'm a person who really cares about connection. I've gotten really clear on that in this trip to Haiti, just like in this time alone, especially having ended a long-term relationship with somebody and being single for the first time in like my life, truly, because I always give the context of I dated my recent partner for 5 years, I dated my ex for 4 years, and I was dating my mom for 17 years before that. I wasn't allowed to date. I wasn't really like, I had a lot of restrictions around going out and things like that. So this is my first time I'm really like in my own shit, feeling my own weight, being with myself in all the ways all the time, and not necessarily, I feel like with partners you always have someone to call. Even if they're unavailable, it's kind of the expectation that you will be not necessarily always available, but like if I want to talk about stuff, I'll ask you, but like there's somebody to go to. You get what I'm saying? That kind of security of like comfort coming from one place. And obviously when you have a lot of friends, you also have that, but we often hold romantic relationships differently. I know I have. So now that I don't have that go-to person that I can come to with like all my very complex ideas, all of my feelings that I've processed, stuff with family, like I didn't often go to my partner to do the work for me, right? To like, oh, I don't know how to deal with this, so I want you to deal with it with you. It wasn't fully like you're gonna do the emotional work for me, right? However, it was often like you will hold the space, or we will hold the space together, or I'll share with you my insights that I gained from this experience. And that was often how I was learning about things and integrating things in this like relational way. So now that this person's not there, I'm realizing, oh, connection is important to me because I have a lot of things to share. There's a lot of things that I want to, and there's a lot of things I want to connect with people on. And even realizing in my relationship, I didn't always get that back, right? So I would give for instance, say that we're talking about intergenerational trauma, talking about family. So I share these insights that I went through my dad, I went through my mom, and my partner would hold space for them, like, wow, either acknowledging something I didn't acknowledge and celebrating, or just being blown away or being surprised, or that like giving me, I guess, an emotional response to it, right? Versus someone who's also like, oh, that makes me think of this, right? Or like, this fits into, or I don't know, it's not like it was only just about emotional support, but you get what I'm saying. There was a little bit it was less of this synergy of the ideas. So realizing that's something that I care about and having to get creative with where I'm going to get different things has been really cool. Like connection is really important to me. And I bring this up too because I feel like we are so disconnected in this world. Like I said, the world is in upheaval, okay? There's a lot, coronavirus has happened and like it's all over the place, but also like we've been disconnected. We've been disconnected. There's been so much stuff that's happened in this world. But nah, don't think about that. We're going toward the future. Oh, stay present, everybody. Yeah, these things are important, especially the staying present piece. Get present. Also, like, there's a bunch of shit back here that needs reckoning, y'all. We're all here collectively because of very many different steps that were taken. And going to Haiti was fascinating because I realized how disconnected I have been from Haiti. How disconnected I am from developing worlds, right? I found out that they no longer call them third world countries, they're developing countries, and then they're referred to as low and middle income countries, and then they're also referred to as generally the global south. That's weird. I feel like that's weird. I feel like I wish we could talk about that too. What y'all trying to say about the south? Global south? What are we talking about? Anyway, that's a whole nother video. I'm gonna write this too about language and the we be playing around with language like an airstrike. What is an airstrike, y'all? Dropping bombs. What is neutralize in another country, right? Murder. So this video is going in a lot of directions. But going to Haiti is what's bringing up a lot of these thoughts for me. I feel like as a person, I have not been the most civically involved. And I think this is interesting. I got into this little conversation with somebody in the comments once. And they were saying something about politics and how politics are really important. Because it's the nitty gritty. It's kind of the process by which we can create solutions, right? And it's funny because I agree. For me, politics is the way you live your life. Politics is how you relate to other people, like in a community on a larger scale than like your family, right? Because I would say even dealing with your neighbors is a politics. It's an ethos, right? Just the way that you live. And it's really fucked up to me that they have, what is that called? Co-opted, right? They have stolen this word and made it about Democrats and Republicans and like a bullshit game of illusions. Y'all both represent this fuck shit, bruh. And what are you, the way that y'all deal with each other, this is fucking ridiculous. So we're supposed to all relate to each other that way. We're supposed to talk like this to each other. We're supposed to talk around things. Like, what are we talking about, bruh? What is this? And then people be like, that ain't got shit. That has nothing to do with me. I don't care about what y'all are talking about. So then where are we actually where's the politics happening? Where's the way that we're living happening? Where are we learning that? And I'm just thinking about how if people's politics were like humanity first, right? Children would be protected. We would care for each other, right? There would just be community spaces. Like, for instance, a grocery store would have a very different vibe if people contributed to it differently, right? When people lived on farms or lived off the land, they lived in a very different way, more bartering kind of things, right? There'd be, if our politics was centered around care or love as an exercise, as a practice, there would probably be less homeless people, But because politics has been stolen and repurposed or purposed into this like game, and we only think about politics every 4 years as though it's not, again, how you live your everyday life, how life moves, how you approach life, how you deal with other people, how you talk to other people, what you talk about with other people. We should all be political, deeply. And we'd be, oh, I'm not political. Oh, I don't have opinions on these moral issues like abortion and da da da. What are we talking about, bruh? This is my thing. And it's hard to say. If the thing exists, we need to learn how to deal with it. Not try to eliminate it happening. You get what I'm saying? We live in a world where there are guns. So to take away the guns, there will always be some motherfucker with guns. Is that not how it's gonna work? Is that not how it works? The same thing with drugs. Anytime somebody's like, alcohol. How did alcohol blow up during Prohibition? Because when you tell people not to do a thing, or you can't have that, but it already exists, and people have already experienced it, and people have already tasted it and held it and used it, and you want to take it away, what are we talking about? So we need to learn how to deal with this. Okay? So I feel like, for instance, if we're talking about the gun thing, I think it would be wise for that if everybody could have a gun, should we not all know? Should we not have a portion of talking about guns? Oh, we can't talk about it because then it's like a society. It's like we approve of guns, but you do. So why not teach your people how to use guns? Why not teach the history of guns? Why not teach? Because if you actually taught what the gun was about, because to me it seems like it was something to like kill other things, then people would hold it differently. Literally. You get what I'm saying? It would be a different concept. Because from childhood, you would know about guns. You would know that they're a thing that can end lives. That they were created for particular things, right? Conscious. Then you can develop your conscience, right? Because you have consciousness about the thing. Drugs. How are you going to tell kids not to do drugs? Yeah, you can try. They're there. They're there. So if they try, if they get it by accident, they happen, fall into it. Like, why not deal with addiction? Why don't we talk about the effects of drugs and not like, oh, you will get addicted and you will die and you'll lose your teeth and your skin will get fucked up and everybody will throw you away. No. Why don't we talk about why people get into drugs? I'm very curious what the feeling of heroin is like. I would not do it. It's not my interest, but it's depicted in such a way that I will be pulled to that. So how are we going to depict all these things in this way and be like, oh, well, look at their lives as fucked up, so you don't want to do that. But it looked like that is an interesting feeling. So then someone goes to pursue it. Because they're not getting a full image of what these things are. And we don't really even get to be like in the intimate process of recovery, right? If you showed somebody who's going through drugs, there's also people who functionally have drug habits, you know? And like, I have my own feelings about using drugs to get through the thing, but who am I to fucking judge? It's not me to say. It's not for me to say what someone's supposed to do with their life. Also, there's just more experiences that we could talk about. For instance, sex. You gonna tell kids not to have sex? Why did God make it feel good if you're not supposed to do it? Y'all always, it's how we all fucking got here. We are here because somebody had sex. Somebody busted a nut and we're here. Hello? We're the tree that grew from the nut. So why are we not talking about it? Oh, because then we got to talk about pleasure. Oh, kids can't do. What are we talking about, bruh? What are we talking about? That shit blows me. I guess this is just a video about things that blow me. Low-key, or blow my fucking mind. But the point of me saying all of this is, we gotta deal with what's already here. None of this, like, take it away shit and hide it away. Why? Just stop. And then, this is the other aspect. We gotta deal with it, stop, and then, I guess, after we deal with it, then you can figure out ways to, like, I don't want to say limit or reduce, right? But just like, again, conscious using of the thing. But this is the other thing I'm thinking about. I really viscerally respond when people say this concept about reducing harm. I don't know. How do you unlynch people? How does George Floyd get murdered? How do you undrop bombs? You can't. And when we talk about justice, what is justice? Somebody killing somebody and then somebody going to jail or somebody being found guilty is not justice. I guess in this fucked up illusion politic world, it's supposed to be something. But that's not justice. It's not restitution. There's no redress. There's no healing that came from this. There's no growth. There's no, and now something will be different. You get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? I hope y'all get what I'm saying. So I really am not here for this reduce harm thing. I'm very much here for the address harm. And then we can move different, right? But the point is like conflict, and I think this is what's funny. Whenever people think of utopia, I feel like they think of this like imaginary world where there's no conflicts and there's no beef, and we be all just namaste and kumbaya, and I'm not mad, and just let things rock. And I have a lot of issues with this whole era right now where people are trying to zen people the fuck out. No, people need to get upset, okay? But that's a different conversation. I'm gonna write that down too. Rage. Especially it being quelled. But in utopia, in the real world, in my ideal world, in the future, there is difference. People will always be in conflict. We always have different needs. To me, conflict is the difference of needs. We will always be there. And it's not to say, so we'll never be at peace. You could be at peace and have a conflict with somebody. That doesn't even mean that the relationship's not peaceful. It just means that you're in conflict, which is an opportunity for resolution. Which is an opportunity to learn about both parties. And it's an opportunity to choose differently. Change your behavior, transform a behavior within yourself. Address someone else's behavior, facilitate their transformation. Learn something new. I didn't know you needed that. I didn't know the importance of that. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't want that, actually. Or cool. Yeah, I need to take a breath. I was getting upset in my belly. And I think when we think about this utopia without different, it's just weird. What are we talking about? The world is not all black people, y'all. And I don't fit into the world that's all black people, even though I'm black. Because my thing is not about that. Personally, I'm really invested in this humanity thing. However, I don't mean it in like, I'm a human, I don't see color. No, we're all different people. We're all different. We are all different. And every single person is worthy of love and dignity. That's my politics. And it's hard. And it's messy. And that's the point. It's uncomfortable. So I started this with saying when I went to Haiti, that shit blew my brain and made me realize how important connection is to me. Because we are disconnected as a human race. Like when y'all talk about Black Lives Matter, are you talking about Haiti? No. I know you're not talking about Haiti because the things that you're talking about don't have to do with that. And it's not, and again, it's crazy because if you mention something, someone's going to be like, well, relax. I can point out that when you're talking about Black Lives Matter, you're not talking about Haiti. And that doesn't mean you're an evil person. It doesn't mean that you're wicked. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you're invalid. I'm also just pointing out this is not what we're talking about. And this is also blackness. When we talk about Black Lives Matter, why are we not in the hood talking about that? Do they know that Black Lives Matter? Someone commented on my video once, and it's funny because I couldn't access the comment afterwards, so I just saw a thumbnail of it, and then I didn't see what they wrote. But like, I think you need to research this concept on black and black crime. There is no such thing, and da-da. So there's not black people who kill black people? So what do they think about the lives that they're taking? Do they think that it matters? Oh, well, white people introduce guns. So do they think that it matters? So because the white man told it that it didn't matter, so it didn't matter? Or the white man gave them the gun, so that means that it's okay that they know that it doesn't matter? What are we talking about? Oh, well, you understand these people, they come from different, they all this systematic and cycles of oppression, and they're poor. Yeah, society tells them that they don't matter, but where's the effort to go tell those people that they matter? Because Black Lives Matter exists very much on the internet, right? Like, again, what is showing these people? What are showing the folks in Haiti that I was seeing sitting on the sidewalk, begging in the streets and shit? Which is not all Haiti is about, right? I'm not getting into that right now. That'll be another video. Haiti relations. But just the fact that I saw a lot of people in poverty, right? Do their lives matter? Absolutely. Who's telling them that? And how do you tell people that? You just gonna tell them that? Oh, you matter. Okay. So don't have fucking water. Cool, I matter. And I get what we're trying to do, but it's not enough to just say that shit, bro. And that's that politics. That's that fake ass politics. You get what I'm saying? That's that we gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about how we're gonna chant Black Lives Matter down the streets. We're gonna put it up on the fucking Black Lives Matter Boulevard. We're gonna make posters and shit about it. And also, Black people in a lot of places still don't got water. Black people in a lot of places still don't have access to health care or education, quality education. Or they literally, you did all of that last year and people still dying. That man was found guilty, and how many people died in the meanwhile? You get what I'm saying? We can't chat about Black Lives Matter. Do Black Lives Matter? That would have been a more accurate slogan. How do you feel about a black life? That would have been good. Create a conversation. We just out here. Who you telling? Because the people you telling not listening. And the people who need to know don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I asked a woman who works at my grandparents' house. My grandparents have money in Haiti, which is why I want to talk about Haiti relations, because it's very different to live in Haiti, be able to like visit and leave, also move there with a different access, all of these things, right? That's a whole nother conversation. But I asked this woman who works at the house, assisting my grandpa, asked her, what are you thinking about? And she laughed. She was like, me? Nothing. And obviously, like, it was the first time I feel like I had ever asked her like a question like that, or anybody had really asked her a question like that. But I was so curious. Wow, what are you thinking about? When she said that, I was like, nothing. What do you mean? Of course you're thinking about stuff. Are you telling me that you don't actually think I'd be interested? Do you not know what you're thinking about? Do you not want to share? Is it a vulnerability thing? And again, genuinely, what are you actually thinking about? Are you thinking about this dynamic? Because I'm thinking about this dynamic of you serving in my home, my grandparents' home, like, anyway, that's all to say that conversation is really important to me. And like, conversation is not all there is, right? Because like I'm saying, we can talk about Black Lives Mattering. We could get to an understanding of how Black lives don't matter, and how they do matter, and all these things, and where Blackness came from. And these are a lot of the things I'm invested in too, because that's a really important part. Do we understand why people are saying Black Lives Matter? Are we understanding why it's important to have a conversation around a Black life? Because it is held differently, and it is it's a standard for how we treat not great things. And there's so much legacy on it. There's so much history on it, but we don't want to talk about it. It's like it's like a fart in the room. And a really bad one. You're like, oh my God, who did that? Hopefully y'all caught that analogy. But a conversation without an action piece too, or not, let me rephrase that. I'm very invested in the conversation piece, and that's the space that I'm creating to do that thing. And it's important and it's valid, and I'm excited about those things. And also there has to be an action piece to this, to actually move the needle on things. And I think for me, I sometimes have ideas, but I don't always know. And I don't know. The spaces that I want to create are spaces to talk about the thing, understand why it's important that we're talking about the thing, and then brainstorm the thing, right? So if we're talking about Black Lives Matter and how they have systematically not mattered throughout history, right? And how the story has been told about what blackness is. And there's a particular idea of what blackness is, and it creates that experience for people. If you're coded black in America, you're going through a particular experience. You will likely be treated particular ways. And even if you're not, people look at you and there's a whole thing going on. So we can talk about that. We can talk about how race was constructed. That's what I'm doing this month. If y'all are interested, if you're watching this long, thank you. And also, if you're interested, I have a conversation series I'm holding for the rest of the year. I have it planned until July. So this month I'm doing race as an ideology. Next month will be what is blackness, and the following month will be what is whiteness, and it's every 2 weeks. So the 7th, May 7th, 2021, and then the 21st will be the next one. And there are 2 time slots at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. I'm going to make a separate video about that, but figured I'd mention it in this space. So I'm wanting to have these conversations so that we can get to a common understanding, a working definition of what these things are. And then I want to, and in each conversation too, I'm going to ask people, what are your thoughts about this thing, right? How do we disrupt this thing? How do we da-da-da-da-da-da? Because I don't have all the ideas. I have great ideas. And also, what would my idea next to your idea and combine with this person's idea and that person's idea, and then we can make a new thing? Or like, you can give me a new angle or ask me a question. And I don't know, I want to create these spaces where people are cool with being wrong because they're learning. We've had such a terrible experience with learning in school, where people made fun of you, you got punished, you were stupid, they were grading you all the time. Like, it just was not a healthy relationship with learning. And we gotta be willing to learn. We gotta be willing to have these conversations. We gotta be willing to connect, and to be vulnerable, and not vulnerable like you telling somebody how you feel. Yeah, that's a big part of it, but also being vulnerable and being wrong and being corrected and correcting someone. These are vulnerable moments. So the moral of the story is I went to Haiti and my shit got rocked. I was able to take such a far step back that I'm really looking overall at like all the things I'm doing, understanding why it's important, what it is because I think in the past when I would see something, like when I got there, I was like, my work, what the fuck is my work? These videos even that I do, what the fuck this got to do with Haiti? And I was like, oh my God. And it's not in the past, again, I'd be like, oh no, like, so I'm not doing anything, and I did all this and I'm wrong and I'm lost and I got to figure it out again, and I got to, oh no. But now it's really cool to be like, or literally, yeah, where I'm at right now is like, okay, I've been doing a lot of things. What is working? What relates to this topic? What do Haitians need? Right? What can I bring to Haiti? What is my value add? And the things that I'm doing, if I want to take it to the next level, if I want to take it a further step, what is that step? What do I want? Where am I trying to go? And it's been nice to not lose everything. Throw the baby out with the bathwater, they say. Like, not just toss the whole thing out. Like, so we're back to the drawing board, back to square one. Like, no. I'm actually very much on track. I'm very much on track, and I need to pivot, and also synthesize. I think I was so much in the thing. I was, for instance, if we're just using the example of social media, I was in the thing, doing the thing, like making the posts and posting and doing the thing and interacting and engaging and algorithm and this and that. And then, but what am I posting? I'm making a post every time I'm posting. It's like I'm sitting here typing the fucking caption. I'm sitting here taking time out of my creative flow to starkly create this thing to share. Versus vault, right? What does it look like to create, stay in the creation, don't worry about, get out of the feedback loop, get out of the sharing, and then create a thing that I have like a schedule to post. That's just something that, obviously people talk about this, but it's not been relevant in my life until I went away and was like, okay, I'm too in it. I'm too close trying to execute. I need to take a step back and see the bigger picture. And I know this is another video entirely, but I'll also mention it, and this will be the last thing. I'm thinking about this concept of privilege, bro. privilege is so much more nuanced than many people are willing to admit to in this country. And it's not, I fucking hate the oppression Olympics where people are like, oh, well, I struggled here, and so this makes me the most, and this makes me the most, and this makes me the most, and the black woman is the most hated. Yes. And there's no sarcasm in my yeses. It's like, yes, the black woman is the most, what did he say? Hated. Like the most vulnerable person in America. Yes. Also, yes, homeless people. Also, yes, queer people. Also, yes, indigenous people. Like, if one of us is struggling, we are struggling. That's the point. Why are we trying to compare who's struggling the most? Trying to get most, I want the most, like, I want my pain to be the most validated. I struggle the most, which is why I need the most support, and da-da-da-da. If we supported the lowest supported people, overall, obviously there's intersections that need to be addressed, like gender, right? That's what you're talking about. We want to talk about gender. We want to talk about sexuality. We need to talk about socioeconomic class. We need to talk about class. Talk about ethnicity. All these different forms, religion, all these different forms of existence. We need to talk about it. Yes. So then if we did that, it would be a different conversation. Anyway, my point is, yes, fine. The black woman is the most hated person in America. Also, Haiti doesn't have running water. And again, it's not like, oh, so we need to drive our things to Haiti and fix Haiti. And so, but there's people here who don't have running water. Yes. My point is there's so many more, not even bigger or deeper or whatever issues. There's so many issues. There's people who don't have water. There's people who don't have electricity. And we're trying to have privileges is nuanced. That's my point. Privilege is fucking nuanced. And so when we talk about white people having all the privilege, there's so many privileges we often enjoy. If you got 2 legs, you got a privilege. And it's not so, because your walking privilege doesn't end up with somebody dying and it doesn't contribute to somebody's like racial oppression. Yeah, I get that. And also it contributes to somebody else's. And the conversation is, what is this conversation? What are we trying to do? Get rid of our privilege? Trying to get people to admit their privilege and be guilty about their privilege and acknowledge their privilege? Okay, and when we acknowledge now, what do we do? What do we do after the acknowledgement? Oh, you want them to get rid of the privilege? I feel like privilege is an acknowledgement point, and I get that that's where we're struggling, because a lot of people don't even want to acknowledge that there's privilege, but it's also because of the way that we're talking about it, as though white people are the only people with privileges. And also, can we stop calling it privileges? If what you're talking about with the whiteness is that you benefit from the way that your ancestors set up this country, what people call white supremacy, like you benefit from the way that things were set up. And you are choosing to be ignorant about it. That's not like, that's just what it is. Because privilege, let me see. You know me in words. Let me look up a privilege real quick. I think it does fit in the situation. Privilege. Etymology. Private law. Nah, well then it does make sense. Bill or law affecting an individual. Then yeah. In regards to privilege, something I was talking about with my dad, and I think this will get at the root of like trying to look to individual. My issue with the privilege conversation is trying to look to individual people to acknowledge their privilege isn't the point. I feel like we're missing the mark here. Whereas if we're talking about private law, if we're talking about this conversation of privilege, I feel like it's more important to take, again, this step back of being like, it's actually the United States Constitution and the entire infrastructure of this place that privileges a certain experience. And then calling attention to these, like, why are we still using text from 1776? And I guess that is what the conversation is about. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like that when people are like, all this privilege. It gets so personal and petty, it feels. Right? Which is why having two legs is not necessarily a privilege, it's not a private law. I mean, I guess there's stuff about like ramps in places. Because I'm thinking about the privilege, for instance, of having running water, right? Private law. I mean, that would make sense. There's reasons why. There's reasons because of somebody privatizing water that leads to people not having water. So I'm gonna think more about that. That's why it's its own separate video. I'm glad that I looked up the word. And also, yeah, like, this is what the conversation for me is about. Like, my thing is, I've always talked a lot about history, right? I've always been like one to be like, let's talk about slavery. Let's talk about Jim Crow era. Let's talk about, and I'm very fixated on those particular times because I feel like they're so interesting when you think about them socially. And like culturally, like, I've been thinking so much about lynchings, y'all. And like, people really don't put themselves back there to imagine, just get it away. I don't want to see it. And black porn, it's trauma porn. It's like, yeah, I don't want to sit there and watch it. And also like, and see that shit because it's fucked up. And also we turn away so much. That's why I feel like things don't sit, or I don't know what to do with that. Like, it just hurts, so get it away. But it's crazy that happened, and like, people were outraged and we're still here. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's a different conversation. But I'm gonna write that. That's in the rage conversation. But with this private law thing and this privilege, right? Privus lex, private law, bill or law affecting an individual. I think it's really, I've never thought of like, let's problematize the Constitution, but like, really, call to question this Constitution. I feel like I don't hear a lot of that happening because the Constitution is used in the Supreme Court where people rule for life. Y'all don't see how this shit is sus, bruh, in the States? Because it's just like, we can't work. What are you trying to do? Work backwards, backpedal, whatever, from the fact that you wrote all men were created equal, having, like, literally slaves were present at the thing. You went home to your slaves. And there was mass slaves still for, like, almost another 100 years. How do you work from that? How do you work? The law was made already. You gonna walk back how people were founded? Were they already in the water? They're like doing the thing. And I know that's what this conversation is around. I'm just expressing, this is my fucking channel. Just expressing how I was feeling about just like this, like, it's just so annoying when it gets so, we talking about this and this and this and this, and we're weighing who has more privilege and this privilege that and this privilege that. It's like, obviously we experienced it on a personal level. That's why, we're talking about it. And that's why it comes up in conversations. And also, like, we don't all have the same understanding of what is privileging these people. Like, yeah, the system is built for them. We be saying that. We be saying that, and it's just like, yeah, we be saying that, we be knowing that, but what does it really take to shake that up for people to really be like, that's actually fucked up? What do we do with that? Because do you not understand? This is why it's funny. I told somebody recently that I don't call myself an anarchist, but when I think about the things I say, I feel like they'd be kept pretty anarchistic. For me, anarchy, archon meaning ruler or master, no ruler. People think, so you like chaos. And it's like, I mean, if by chaos you mean people are free to choose, yes. And by free to choose, also free to organize, and it's like horizontally run, and there's lots of discussions, and there's a lot of like community care, then yes. But why did I bring up anarchy, privilege? Well, I know that I was talking about the Constitution and bringing it up for question, and I actually really can't remember the line that was tying that to that, but I think it's so important for us to question these things and create a common understanding of what it is that we're talking about here, because there's really people in this country, like my brother is 9. He is currently learning about, or last I spoke to him, he was learning about the Battle of Bunker Hill. Like, how are y'all really teaching the American Revolution to these kids? Because you're teaching they're always teaching American imperialism. And I don't know, I've just been thinking about how this country really banks on people being ignorant, and banks on people really letting shit slide, and banks on us being more upset about how somebody said something versus the fact that they killing people in the government. I'm more pressed about what somebody said in the YouTube comments. I'm more pressed about that man's shoes. I'm more pressed about this drama thing over here and this personal thing over here than the fact that our lives are all precarious because there are people there are bombs in the world, bro. My thoughts are all over the place. But yeah, I think it's important for us to create a common understanding of what happened here. Because obviously, yes, the experience is different for many different people. White people are literally like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is not how my history happened. Yeah, because it was told to you a particular way. I think there's this man, I feel like I brought him up before, Mark Charles, a native man who was running for president in the last election. And his whole campaign that I got on with and like really, really love, and I still follow him on Instagram. It's at Wireless Hogan. I can put that information below. His whole thing is making we the people mean all the people. So like addressing this fact that people were excluded, like written in there to be excluded. You get what I'm saying? Like it's not that we were excluded. Yes, we were, but they made sure to mention that. That's crazy. That's deep. And then also his other thing was creating a collective memory so that we can all understand what happened here. So we can all remember the same things, right? Because Thanksgiving is fucked up to teach the kids as the Indians came together with the colonists to celebrate. No, that's not what happened. They had slaughtered a bunch of native people, and then they were celebrating with a meal. That's what happened. Christopher didn't discover shit. If you pulled up in my room right now and said, oh, yo, I discovered this, I would be like, get out. The least thing I would do would be like, get out. You would discover what? You happened upon me sitting in my room. You discovered me sitting at my desk. That's what you discovered. But they don't teach that to kids. You get what I'm saying? Why do we even talk about this man? We should talk about him as the grand idiot. This is where history became, or started to become, filled with idiots. And we used to teach this. Anyway, I am complete. I have said a lot. Thank you for watching. If you've gotten this far, I feel like I'm very suited for the podcast life, right? Because you could just talk and listen. You don't gotta watch me, and you can still do that with YouTube. I guess if you have YouTube Premium, you can. I don't know if you can do that without YouTube Premium. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I have these things written down, so I will be making these videos moving forward. This video about my dad, so stay tuned for video about my relationship with my dad that has really, really transformed and evolved, and like, y'all will be blown away truly if you hear the story. I don't talk about it a lot, but yeah. About language and the like softening of it. George Carlin called it the pussification. And I don't like that because pussies are strong. But, like, yeah, in terms of this, like, coating of language. What is it called? Speaking in, not analogy. Not connotations either. What's the word? Just not saying what you mean, right? A lot of subtext. Like, if you, like, the example being, we went to a enemy territory and neutralized the forces, right? Neutralized means fucking murdered, right? Captured and murdered. Overtook. So that kind of, but we use neutralize. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about language, honestly. Then I have this video I'm planning about rage, how it's such a important emotion and experience that is often not only demonized, but also like we're in this really weird era where everyone's like, oh, you know, like, don't let anybody take your peace. And, you know, like, just understand and, you know, be peaceful. And it's like, yeah, it's important to have your peace and be grounded and shit. And it's also important to be fucking mad about what the fuck is going on. Okay. And then a video about privilege. Probably separate from this one, but it will play into this next one around Haitian relations. Like Haiti, my experience in Haiti. This particular one, which I thought this video was going to be about, but kind of, I guess it's like insights from my trip. But like more so observationally and just like historically, because I've learned a lot about Haiti. And I would love to share with y'all because people don't be knowing about history generally and also definitely internationally. And also being there, what the experience was like for me too. Some stuff I was thinking about sharing. So I have my list. I will get on that. No deadlines for me. So you should just expect these videos moving forward. They may be rapid fire. They may take longer. I appreciate your support all the time. I appreciate everybody who watches. Especially if you watch this long. Like, really thank you. I appreciate everybody who comments. Like, it really means a lot to me. I'm working on synthesizing my thing so that like when I start and end every video, everybody kind of has a feel for who I am, because I feel like often watching my things, it's like it builds on different things or they're just random topics. So I'm trying to just consolidate a little bit. And I thank you for all your patience and all your support. It really means a lot to be able to share, because I really share into the void. These are my fucking thoughts, and connection is important to me. So instead of speaking them to myself, because I've connected so much with my own thoughts and gotten okay with the fact that I'm crazy, the fact that I am disagreeable as fuck, very disagreeable. We can fight, and I'll still hug you afterwards. It depends, right? If you're disrespectful, no. But like, I'm one, I love to get into it. I like to be disagreed with, and I feel like I've tried so hard to like, tiptoe. I don't want to say things that will upset people, or like, is it gonna offend somebody if I say? I'm sorry. It's not like I'm gonna just fuck it and I'm gonna fuck you up and offend you left and right. But like, we say things that are offensive sometimes. And we're gonna have a conversation about safe spaces. I put that right next to language, because that's a whole thing. So have a beautiful day. Thank you. And check you later.